Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Endurance Technologies Q4 FY21 earnings conference call hosted by Axis Capital Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nishit Jalan from Axis Capital. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Stanford. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Q4 FY21 results conference call of Endurance Technologies. From the management team, we have with us Mr. Anurag Jain, Managing Director, Mr. Ramesh Gehani, Director and COO, Mr. Massimo Venuti, Director and CEO, Endurance Overseas, Mr. Satyajit Ray, Director and Group CFO, Mr. Raj Mundra, Treasurer and Head Investor Relations, and Mr. Sunil Nalai, our Company Secretary. I'll hand over the call to Mr. Jain for his opening remarks, post which we can have Q&A. Over to you, Mr. Jain.
Thanks a lot. Good morning, everybody. I would like to share details of how we have done in the financial year FY21 and then also in quarter 4 of FY21. In India, in the year FY21, as per the CM data, the two-wheeler industry sales grew by 12.1% compared to the previous financial year. Scooters grew by 20.6% and motorcycles grew by 9%. The automotive industry in India had a degrowth of 13.5%. The automotive sector as a whole saw such a degrowth largely due to the Q1 FY21 complete lockdown and also a few subsequent sporadic lockdowns in FY21. In Europe, in FY21, there was a decline of 19.4% in the European Union automotive sales. European sales had a degrowth of 18% in euro terms. In quarter 4 of FY21, there was a growth of 0.7% in the European Union automotive sales, and a European operational sales had a growth of 3.4% in euro terms in quarter 4. On the financials, I will briefly talk to you about the fourth quarter of FY21 first, and then for the financial year of 2020-21. During quarter 4, as compared to previous year's same quarter, our consolidated total net income grew by 32.6% from rupees 16,142 million to rupees 21,398 million. Consolidated EBITDA grew by 32.8% from rupees 2,553 million to rupees 3,390 million. Consolidated EBITDA margin was at 15.8%. The profit after tax grew by 75.3% from the previous year and was rupees 1,873 million at 8.8%. The consolidated ROC was at 23.6% and ROE at 23.3%. There was no consolidated net debt and the company had a positive cash flow of rupees 3,153 million. During quarter 4, our standalone total income grew by 40.6% from rupees 11,390 million to rupees 16,015 million. Standalone EBITDA grew by 58.7% from rupees 1,509 million to rupees 2,394 million with an EBITDA margin of 15%. Standalone profit after tax grew by 93.6% and was rupees 1,391 million at 8.7%. The standalone ROC was at 31.5% and ROE at 23.5%. There was no net debt and the company had a positive cash flow of rupees 1,547 million. I will now brief you on the financials of the financial year as a whole FY21. During the financial year FY21, as compared to the previous financial year, our consolidated total income de-grew by 5.6% from rupees 69,653 million to rupees 65,777 million. Consolidated EBITDA de-grew by 9.1% from rupees 11,784 million to rupees 10,709 million. Consolidated EBITDA margin was at 16.3%. The profit after tax de-grew by 8.1% and was rupees 5,196 million at 7.9%. After considering the Maharashtra incentive for mega project amount of rupees 872.18 million. During the financial year FY21, a standalone total income de-grew by 3.8% from rupees 49,748 million to rupees 47,866 million. Standalone EBITDA de-grew by 4.3% from rupees 7,785 million to rupees 7,451 million, with an EBITDA margin of 15.6%. The profit after tax de-grew 8.3% and was rupees 3,922 million at 8.2%, after considering the Maharashtra incentive for mega project amount of rupees 872.18 million. The above financials for FY21 were impacted by the very low sales witnessed in Q1, which was affected due to complete lockdowns and subsequent sporadic lockdowns. In FY21, we are happy to inform you that the credit rating agency, CRISIL, has given a higher rating for long-term bank financing of AA+ with stable outlook from the earlier rating of AA with positive outlook. We are informed this is the highest rating for an Indian auto component company. For short-term bank financing, we have the highest rating of A1+. We'd like to again mention that Endurance is focused in both its Indian and European operations for a profitable growth and on growing higher than the industry growth. The detailed financials are available with the stock exchanges and on the Endurance website. I would now like to share certain key points for the financial year FY21. 72.7% of the consolidated total income, including other income, came from Indian operations, and the balance 27.3% came from our European operations. In India, rupees 6,380 million of new business was won from OEMs, which included HMSI, which is Honda two-wheelers, Royal Enfield, Hero MotoCorp, Hyundai, Kia, Yamaha India, Tata Motors, and a new OEM client TVS. I would also like to mention that in addition, we have today rupees 15,000 million worth of requests for quotes from various OEMs which are being discussed. Our focus is to supply all our co-product area products to all OEMs in the next 2 years. I would also like to mention that Endurance is focusing on more value add and a profitable product mix in its future business, which includes 200cc plus motorcycles, brakes and clutch assemblies with the help of our acquisition of Adler and Grimeca. These are both Italian companies which we acquired in the year 2020. Paper-based clutch assemblies, replacing the cork-based clutch assemblies for motorcycles. Focusing on getting orders for continuous variable transmissions or an automatic clutch for scooters. Anti-lock brake systems or ABS for the 150cc plus motorcycles, which is with our collaboration with Eugene West Industries. 200cc plus motorcycle inverted front forks and adjustable rear monoshock absorbers, as well as front forks and shock absorbers for electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers. This is with the help of our collaboration partners KTM AG. We are working with KTM AG to increase supply of both the on-road and also start with the off-road motorcycles, higher technology, inverted front forks and rear monoshockers, for which we have together made a 3-year plan. We are also focusing, as you know, on fully finished machine casting as compared to semi-finished casting for 2 and 3 and 4-wheeler casting business.
Excuse me, this is the operator. I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Jain?
Hello, Stanford.
Raj, are we disconnected?
I can't hear the operator. I'll just check.
Go ahead.
The operator just connecting Mr. Anurag Jain on the other line.
We have Mr. Jain online already, sir. You may go ahead.
Okay, should I start?
Yes, please.
Yeah. As disc brake assembly business is growing with addition of Bajaj, TVS, Royal Enfield, Yamaha, Hero MotoCorp, and HMSI new business, we are increasing the disc brake assembly capacity from the existing 285,000 brake assemblies a month to 570,000 brake assemblies a month, and the discs from 375,000 numbers a month to 675,000 numbers a month by August 2021. A new plant at Baluj is being set up for this increase in volumes. On 2nd February 2021, we started operations at our new plant at Vallam, near Chennai, to supply machined aluminium castings for Hyundai, Kia, Royal Enfield, and we are now in the process of acquiring new business from these existing as well as new OEMs. We are also setting up an aluminium cylinder head low pressure die casting plant at Pantnagar, Uttarakhand for 720,000 numbers per annum, and operations will start in Q2 of this financial year. We are happy to inform you that the supply of two-wheeler ABS assembly should start by October 21, which is this financial year, as we are in the final stages of testing and validation. As you may be aware, competition is mainly from Bosch, which controls approximately 85% market share in the Indian ABS motorcycle market, which approximately requires 3 million ABS assemblies per annum. This is a very large business opportunity for Endurance, as there are very few suppliers, and they are mainly only foreign companies in this line due to the high technology requirements. In October 2020, in our oldest die casting plant in Aurangabad, which we started in 1985, our company announced a voluntary separation scheme for 86 confirmed workmen with a one-time payout of rupees 112 million. This has led to an annual wage cost saving of rupees 48.7 million per annum and additional savings in canteen, workforce and insurance related to these 86 workmen. On 3rd May 2021, which is of course this financial year, in our Chakan plant, Pune, we announced a voluntary separation scheme for on-roll workmen also. This is with the aim of improving operational sustainability in our plant operations. We are also focused on supply of our products for EV vehicles. We have already started supplies of brake assemblies, suspension, and aluminum castings for electric scooters and three-wheelers. As you may be aware, in financial year 21, total 238,000 EVs were sold in India, including 144,000 two-wheeler EVs, 88,000 three-wheeler EVs, and 59,000 four-wheeler EVs. Our focus is to supply our EV products to two-wheeler OEMs, both existing and new, like Ola Electric, and new startups funded by these OEMs. Due to increased orders from Bajaj and Yamaha in India, we are increasing our capacity of alloy wheels from 240,000 numbers per month to 320,000 alloy wheel numbers a month in our existing Chakan plant near Pune, and the production will start in Q3 of this financial year. As far as Europe is concerned, in FY21, we acquired 19.3 million euro of new business with Audi, Daimler, Volkswagen, Fiat Chrysler, and Maserati. As mentioned in previous investor calls, I would specifically like to point out that in the last 2 years, 110 million euro of business has been won for electric and hybrid cars, which has started in FY21 and will reach peak volumes in FY24. Therefore, 50% of our existing total Europe business value has already been won by us. Out of this 110 million euro value, 30 million euro of business won is for electric cars for Audi and Porsche, and 80 million euro of business has been won for hybrid cars of Volkswagen, Daimler, BMW, Fiat Chrysler, and Maserati. As mentioned earlier, in the year 2000, our overseas company, Endurance Overseas SRL, acquired 99% stake of the two-wheeler clutch company Adler SPA and 100% stake of the two-wheeler brake company Drameka. Both these acquisitions include all know-how, patents, brand, and trademarks, which has helped Endurance to enter the 200cc plus motorcycle clutch assembly and brake assembly market for the first time, which the production will start in Q3 of this financial year. We've already got orders for the same. I want to inform you that both Adler and Drameka companies have been our technology partners in the past and a very important part of our journey of growing our clutch and brakes business in India. I would also like to point out that Endurance, both in India and Europe, is actively pursuing its focus on gaining access to new technologies and also focusing on new product, organic and inorganic growth. We hope to finalize at least one of these projects in this financial year. I would like to mention that Endurance has also entered two backward integration product areas, which are import substitutes also. First is the aluminium forging axle clamps, which are required for our inverted front forks. Endurance has entered into a technical collaboration with the company FGM in Italy, and the production will start at our Aurangabad plant in July 21. We have already received orders both from KTM and Bajaj. The second product is wire braided hoses, which are required for ABS brakes. Already we have won the orders, and this will start on 1st June at our Aurangabad plant. Both these above projects will help us in our profitable growth in business. The aftermarket business, which is our B2C business in India, was almost 6.5% of our net sales in the financial year FY21. The aftermarket sales grew by 4.7% from rupees 2,977 million in the previous financial year to rupees 3,160 million in FY21, in spite of the Q1 almost being lost to COVID-19 lockdowns. We have a very large focus on our profitable aftermarket business, which we are targeting to reach at least 10% of our domestic net sales value from today's 6.5. We are exporting also to 29 countries, and we are in the process of adding 5 more countries to our exports of aftermarket in this financial year. We have also started trading in 2 and 3 wheeler tires. Let me repeat, we have started trading in 2 and 3 wheeler tires for both exports and for the Indian market. In India, we have a network of 377 distributors and an additional 97 for tires. As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic gave rise to a very challenging and difficult situation here in FY21. In most of Q1 of FY21, our plant operations in India and Europe were suspended, ranging from 30 to 50 days due to lockdowns. At Endurance, we took this as an opportunity to become leaner in terms of people, and we focused to lower our monthly fixed cost amounts, variable cost percentage to sales in our plants, direct and indirect material costs, as well as capex. Since middle of April 21, unfortunately, we are seeing lockdowns again in various states, which are affecting our sales in India. But our team again is taking full measures on fixed cost, variable cost, raw material, and capex controls, with full focus on positive cash flows. On the environment front, I would especially like to mention that Endurance is striving to being carbon neutral in its plants by effective use of solar power and wind power, creating carbon sinks by driving tree plantations and thereby creating dense forests, and driving use of natural gas and LPG in place of electric power and furnace oil. We are also focusing on lowering hazardous waste generation and to achieve zero waste to landfill. On the human resource front, we have implemented an agile and lean structure across our plants and corporate departments in financial year 21. We have implemented a new performance appraisal with a standardized balanced scorecard and a competency framework. We have a very large focus on development of high potential employees, as we like to promote and grow employees from within the company as they know our culture. We are also focusing on a succession plan for all key roles and recruiting capable candidates. Every year, we also implement sustainable actions on feedback of the employee engagement survey we conduct every year, and track if the net promoter score is increasing in different plants and functions, which means better employee satisfaction at Endurance as the net promoter score goes higher. At Endurance, it will be a continuous endeavor to grow through organic and inorganic growth with a focus on technology upgradations, quality improvements, cost, and environmental health and safety. We will do our best to fulfill all our stakeholder expectations by following our 5 values of customer centricity, integrity, transparency, teamwork, and innovation. With these opening remarks, I would like to invite questions from everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rai. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star, then 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star, then 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who wishes to ask questions, please press star, then 1. The first question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Congrats on good performance in the quarter and the year as well. Firstly, was there no subsidy in the quarter?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm asking, was there no subsidy in the quarter from Maharashtra government? For quarter, I'm saying.
You're talking about the first quarter?
This fourth quarter, was there no subsidy in the fourth quarter numbers?
Yes, sir. You're talking about the package scheme of incentives?
Yeah, Maharashtra.
Which we are getting from the Maharashtra state.
Yeah.
No, in fact, it was a very small amount. I would request Mr. Ray to reply to this.
Yeah, in quarter 4 we booked 6,90,000. So you're right, it's very small. It's negligible.
Rupees 690,000 rupees.
Okay. And sir, if you look at the standalone performance during the quarter, despite industry kind of declining, we have posted good growth on quarter-on-quarter basis. So which segments drove the performance on quarter-on-quarter basis in India?
Sorry, in this growth?
If you look at the QOQ, we have grown revenues. Industry was declined basically. So what led to this outperformance versus industry? Which segments basically we saw growth on quarter-on-quarter basis?
Yes. See, the largest, I think, growth came from the front fork and shock absorber segment, suspension segment. I think had the highest growth. Even our aftermarket grew.
Okay.
I'm saying as a percentage to say, brakes grew a lot, but because of the overall growth, brakes was the same, I would say, percentage of the overall sales compared to the previous year. But I would say suspension and the aftermarket grew the maximum.
Okay. And what is aftermarket revenue around 120 crores in the quarter?
Sorry, for the quarter, can anybody answer that for the quarter?
Yeah, you're right. It was around 119 crores if I remember correctly.
It was quarter 4 was about 1199 million rupees.
Okay, I got it.
Out of which export was, I think, 347 million rupees. Okay, so it's quarter 4.
Okay, so thanks. I'll join back the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jinesh Gandhi from Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. My question pertains to the outlook for FY22. I mean, obviously, we are in similar situation as first quarter last year. What are you hearing from our OE customers? The context being that demand was weaker even before the impact of lockdown came in and inventory in the system being high. So, what is the outlook or production schedules which OEMs are sharing with you, and how should one look at from India business perspective?
Yeah, see, what I would say that, like I mentioned, we have won rupees 12,000 million rupees of business in the last 2 years, which has already started, acquired TVS as a new customer. We have always believed in profitable growth and hard margin and industrial growth, and that's why you saw quarter 4 being so good. We have the same expectation in FY22. Unfortunately, we were hit by this huge surge in COVID-19 cases, which reached 400,000 in April. And that led to lockdown starting from Maharashtra, then Delhi, and then various states. This also led to dealerships being closed, which affects the OEM plant operations. They also started shutting down up to 2 weeks or slightly higher. So definitely, there will be April. I would say quite all right. May of course will be impacted. June we have to wait and watch, looking at what will be the lockdown rules in June, whether the dealerships will be allowed to open. If they are allowed to open, then of course things will be very good. Because like you saw last year, there was a pent-up demand built up, and the way we saw July 20 going up, it was unbelievable. So I'm an optimist. So let's see what are the lockdown measures announced by states from June 1st. It will more depend on that. But to be honest, FY22, we have made a great business plan because we have a lot of business.
Right. And second question pertains to, you talked about tire distribution. So has that business already started, and of the aftermarket revenues which we indicated for FY21, how much would have come from tires?
Okay, I have the figure now, but this business started basically last year, in a very small way. But I think in this year we are planning to sell approximately about I will just get this figure. It will be basic 2 and 3-wheeler tires. See the total sales about 25 million rupees we are planning, in this financial year. Is what I remember. I don't have the exact figure right now, but I will come back to you later when I just say it.
Sure. You said 25 million rupees approximately for FY22.
It is about 25 million rupees in this financial year.
Okay. So that's probably very small, at least to start with. Okay.
Sorry. 25 million was in FY21. It is about 30 million in FY22. Sorry, I stand corrected.
Sorry, you said 30 million for FY22?
No, I said FY21 was 25 million.
Yeah.
And in FY22, how much? Okay, so it's about 530 million rupees in FY22.
Oh, okay. 530 million. That's a very, very sharp improvement. Great, sir. And last question pertains to European operations. So, first, can we share European revenues and EBITDA in euro terms for fourth quarter and full year FY21? And secondly, with respect to the European market outlook, given that most of the European and UK markets are now coming out of lockdown, what kind of growth do we expect in euro terms for our European operations for FY22?
So this way, Director and CEO of European Operations, Mr. Massimo Venuti, to answer this question. Massimo?
Yes. Okay, so in the third quarter of the fiscal year 2020-2021, sales of new passenger vehicle in the European Union grew by 0.7%, considering also UK, compared to the same quarter of the previous year. In terms of 12 months, there was a reduction of 17.7%, 19.4% considering also UK, and as Endurance Overseas, we grew 3.2% compared to the previous year, and more or less the reduction in 12 months was 18%. So the last quarter was the total turnover of the European market was posted a grew compared to a reduction the total market. If we speak about the profitability in the last quarter, 2021, we closed with 18.6% in terms of percentage and 11.4 million euro in terms of EBITDA total amount. The net result was 5.5 million euro and with 8.8% in terms of percentage. If we speak about the total financial year 2020-2021, we closed the EBITDA with 37.7 million euro, 18.2%, and with the net result of 14.6 million euro, 7.1%. Regarding the situation in the European market in terms of volume, in the month of April, yesterday we received the official number. The month of April was more or less 218% higher compared to the previous year, but as you can imagine, April 2020 was very low for the lockdown. But if I compare the total registration of April 2021 compare April 2019, we are speaking about a reduction of 24%. And so, let me say, in this moment, we are not coming back to the previous COVID situation. But apparently, for the next month, the volume are positive. Frankly speaking, the situation in terms of COVID-19 is improving due to the vaccine campaign. In this moment, all the OEM in the European market continue to suffer for the shortage of semiconductor, and this is the major problem in this moment in Germany and also in France and Italy.
Okay, because most of your customers are talking about very strong growth in CY21. Obviously, it's on a low base, but are we seeing improvement in our order book or production schedules which are shared with you?
No, if we speak about order book, as Mr. Jain told you, in 2020-2021, we closed more or less 20 million euro, 19.5 million euro of new business. In this moment, the expectation to grow from our OEM is due to the fact that compared to the previous year, for sure the situation is completely different, and they are with the full production capacity in 5 days per week with 18 shifts. And this is positive compared to the previous year. But as I told you before, if I compare the normal financial year as 2019-2020, in this moment we are 20% less compared to the normality. So my expectation for sure is to grow in the next month, but in my opinion, it's very difficult to predict when we will come back to the same level of volume of 2019-2018.
Sure, that's understandable. Massimo, can you share revenues as well for European operations for fourth quarter and full year FY21?
Sure. In the fourth quarter, the total revenue was 61.4 million euro compared to 59.5 of the previous financial year, with an increase of 3.3%.
Right. And for the full year?
Full year, the total turnover was 207.2 million compared to 252.7 of the previous financial year, with a reduction of 18%. Compared a reduction of 19% of the market.
Understood. And lastly, a clarification on the order book for EVs and hybrids, which we shared. About 80 million order book is for hybrids, is what we have indicated. Any sense on the split between mild and plug-in hybrids of this 80 million?
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to have this info because I can tell you that more or less 80 million euro of the total turnover is 55 million euro with Volkswagen Group for the 1.5 liter engine, where we produce the upper cylinder head. I can tell you that in these 55 million euro, more or less 50% is mild hybrid. This is the only info that we have in this moment. And also because apparently they are developing they will use this range of products in 100% of their segment. And so they are modifying the line in order to assemble this engine, and probably will be 100% a mild hybrid in the medium long term.
Got it. Great. Thanks, Massimo. I'll come back in queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak Sarda from Systematix. Please go ahead. Ronak Sarda from Systematix, your line is unmuted. Please unmute the line from your side and go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, Anurag. Thanks for the opportunity. Anurag, I slightly missed your opening remarks when you were talking about the new Waluj capex. Could you please just repeat that? So there are two lines in that for the drum brake assembly and disc brake. Is that what I hear? That's what I heard, right?
Yeah. So I didn't talk about the capex. I only said that the new plant at Waluj.
I meant, the expansion, if you can talk about.
So the expansion of disc brake assemblies will go up from 285,000 to 570,000 per month.
Okay.
And the discs will go up from 375,000 to 675,000. This is because of new orders, one from TVS, Hero, HMSI, RE, Bajaj. Because here the major competition is only Brembo, as you know.
Right. So this is over and above the Pantnagar new disc brake plant which we spoke about last year, right?
Yeah. So this includes a volume of 45,000 which is in Pantnagar. This fraction of 570 includes the 45,000 which is actually in Pantnagar, which already has started actually.
Right.
So the Pantnagar, so I would say technically this plant will be from 285 to 525,000. But the disc will be total 360, 75 to 675. All the discs will be made in Waluj.
Okay. Right. So the Pantnagar expansion is actually you have shifted back to Waluj. Yeah.
No, it will not be going back to Waluj. It will remain there. But the capacity is going from 285 to 570, out of which 45,000 is in Pantnagar, which is already started.
Got it.
And 525 it will go, like I said, by August. We are trying for earlier, which will be in the new plant.
Sure. And the disc brake is over and above the Pantnagar.
Yeah. And this will be 375 to 675,000. That will be in the new plant, the expansion, the total. That is not in Pantnagar.
Sure. Got it. Thanks. The other question I had was on the raw material side. Now we have seen a very sharp increase both in aluminium and steel cost. So can you help us understand how has that started to pass through both in our top line and the gross margin side? So have we already seen some impact in the last quarter? Because I think it's more of a pass-through, so it will be an optical impact on the margin.
If you see quarter three, the major increases have been in aluminium alloy price,
right,
as well as on steel prices. If I see quarter four, and we started from quarter three, actually.
Right.
And you know that, in fact, RMC percentage in quarter three was about 63%.
Mm-hmm.
And quarter four went up to 64.3%.
Right.
This was mainly due to aluminium alloy price going up by more than 10%, from almost 130 rupees to 143 rupees. And steel prices went up by 12%, from 70 rupees per kg to 79 rupees per kg. So they increased the RMC by 1.3%. Now, the question is, definitely large part was passed on. But
right,
to sustain the supplies, if all the steel producers and all were very, very tough with us from quarter three. They were not willing to supply. So they had a huge market for exports in China, and I believe other places. So we had to give spot increases. So these margins which we did, and as you know that EBITDA was 15.9% in quarter three, and quarter four was at 14.9%.
Right.
This was the impact of this 1.3% was also due to the spot price increases which I couldn't pass on to the OEMs. But of course, quarter to quarter, the pass on was there. But sometimes you have to give spot increases because to do a higher sales is better than to take, it's better to take a cost increase and sell more,
Right.
than to worry about whether a customer will pay. So we had to take these on-the-spot calls, quarter 3 and quarter 4. Both.
Got it. And do we expect further increase in Q1 as well? I mean, are similar increase being seen in Q1 as well? Or?
Yes, the increases are there, but that will be passed on. We've already reached understanding, so that will be passed on. The increases will be there.
Sure. Perfect. And so finally, I mean, we have generated free cash flow even in this year, despite a very weak first quarter. So just wanted to understand the capex plan now, given the expansions already announced. So what could be the India and Europe capex for FY22?
I would request Mr. Ray, our Director and CFO, to answer that. But I just want to add one thing here before Mr. Ray speaks. See, because of this lockdown, we are also trying to postpone some capex, which is really not required. So it is a bit flexible because when we had done a capex plan in March, we didn't know about this lockdown in the second half of April. But I'll request Mr. Ray to answer. What was it?
See, when we sat down on the drawing board before the second wave came in, our plans were definitely upwards of 300 crores. But as this COVID wave is sweeping the country, we would just hold our horses for the time being and see. Last year, we spent a tad below 200 crores, and that was primarily due to the fact that first 4 months, industry didn't see much movement. So therefore, right now, it's probably a little premature to give you a number. We will just wait till June to see how things are sort of working out. Then again, come back and decide what would be our capex for the year. And on Europe capex, I'd request Massimo to elaborate further.
Yes, for the European market, the gross capex recorded in the last 12 months was about 24 million euros, of which 20 million euros specific for product and product capacity. The main project, Volkswagen, 4 million euro, FCA, 6 million euro, and Daimler, 5 million euro. Regarding the 2021-2022, in my opinion, we can maintain more or less the same level of investment, but please consider that in this financial year, we will install the production capacity for Audi and Volkswagen for the new hybrid and electric solution. And so this will be another important year in terms of investment, more or less 20 million euros.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, sir, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vimal Gohil from Union Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, can hear you clearly.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, firstly, if you could just give me how have your key customers like Bajaj, Royal Enfield, Honda, Hero, and TVS, what is the kind of growth rates they have reported in FY21? TVS, I suppose, will be the new customer. So probably if you can give me the revenue number over there, it will be great.
You're talking about for TVS?
No. For all the your two-wheeler customers, your Bajaj, Royal Enfield, Honda, Hero, how have they grown in FY21? How much have they grown?
See, I'll tell you a few. Like Bajaj Auto, there was we grew numbers of -13%. Okay, so we grew only -4.2%, just to give you an example. HMSI was a degrowth of 23.5%, but we grew 1.8%. Then Hero MotoCorp, they grew by 9.7%. We grew by 5.8% with them. Yamaha, they grew by 14.5%, but we grew by 6.2%. Now people like Hyundai, okay, that's for two-wheelers. For TVS, of course, it's a low base. We grew 258% in spite of the degrowth. And Kia and Hyundai saw definitely a growth of 107%. And Suzuki, on a smaller number, we grew 33.6%. So they had a degrowth. So, we have done, like we've always maintained, we have done better than industry because we are adding a lot of new business. And like I said, our aim is to supply all our core product areas to all the OEMs. Let's go for higher value-add product, which I mentioned. So
right.
All this is helping us to grow our sales.
I just missed out on the Royal Enfield number. How much have you grown there? this year?
No. Royal Enfield was similar. We grew with them at about 9.1%.
Fair enough. And Yamaha, you said you declined by about 6.2%, but still it was an outperformance versus their production.
Yeah. Because they grew by 14.5%.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Sir, and what would be the breakup of your aftermarket revenues between exports and the domestic number? Just give me the aftermarket export number.
See, normally I don't give this split up, to be honest. Normally I don't give this split up, but I can still say it. It's not a... see the exports, if I see FY21, just give me a minute. I'm looking at FY21. What we did was 97 million. So we grew out of a total of 312 million approximately.
Great, perfect.
So 90 out of 312 was exports. 90 out of 312.
Got it, sir. And sir, just on this, last question was on this rationale for entering the tire trading segment. While the ROEs in this particular business will be fairly high because it's a trading sort of a business. But I just wanted to pick your brains on what has led to this particular decision of getting into tire trading. What is exciting about it?
See, the thing is, I think this helps the aftermarket for a good growth, a good profitable growth. So don't ask me what is the margin, I will not tell you. But I would say it will lead to a good profitable growth based on the tie-ups which we have with the manufacturers. And the quality and all is well in place.
And these tires, these are getting manufactured here or are we importing them?
No. We are not manufacturing tires. That is again repeating, I'm trading in tires.
Yeah, so we are getting it from...
ICA has been dropped by us 2 years ago, which you know what happened. So there is no manufacturing, only trading, buying and selling, and we making money on it, and ensuring quality control. That's all. And the reason is that we have a strong brand image in the aftermarket, Endurance. So we are selling under the Endurance name, So, and I must tell you that with 97 dealers already joined us, I mean, this is a good business in trading. And why we should not have a profit growth in tires? Like I mentioned already, we have 97 and we are going to keep growing. And like I said, profitable. And I think you look at 4.5 years after we went to you. So definitely I'm not joking with you.
Right, I understand.
On a lighter note.
Perfect, sir. Thank you so much, sir, and all the very best. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Arora from Axis Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question. So just on the electric side, we saw a big player already here setting up a plant. I'm talking about Ola, you mentioned in the opening remarks. We also saw his finalized and everything done. Generally, in your experience, how we are approaching this, setup. So already OEMs are also about to launch their electric vehicles in the next 2 years, and plus Ola is a big guy who has come, in the market there. So I'm sure you would have also approached for some products for them. But generally wanted to get a sense how you are now approaching. Given 3 years, there will be launches. You would be, having a negotiations with all the vendors. So what kind of a product pipeline and where we can grow in the electric, if you can elaborate that. That's my first question.
Yeah.
And second, a bookkeeping question. Though you're talking about outperformance in with few two-wheelers and all, I just want to know only one bookkeeping number is what was the total four-wheeler revenue in FY21 for you? Those are the two questions. Thank you.
So I would say the four-wheeler revenue in India, I'm talking about. Four-wheeler was about, you can say 6% of our revenue of, I'll just tell you what was the total sale. It was, India was 47,866 million. Correct? 47,866 into 6%. And this is, we are growing with Hyundai, Kia, Tata Motors, Mahindra. Like I said, we just got a tractor order, which will be starting now for tractors. And we are already working with Sundar Fasteners, Maruti, many new OEMs, in the Chennai belt and also on exports of castings. Because see, there are very few players in this market of machine casting, especially for 4 wheelers. There could be Sundram Clayton, there is Jai Hind, there is Sunbeam Auto. There are very few. There are no players. So the opportunities are huge, but we are being very selective. So we are looking at machine castings which have high EBITDA margins. And so that's to answer your first question. And the second question is, see, as last year I would say in 2020, our focus was on the existing OEM and OEM funded companies. And you must have heard me say that on Investor Call. Right. Now we change our thinking to even new OEMs, like, Ola Electric, for example. So, and there are others. I don't want to name them, there are some confidentiality things. But we are looking at existing OEMs, new OEMs, and companies funded by them. Is what is our strategy. Reason being that they have the technology, they have the financial strength, they have very good control on the vendor base, on the pricing front. So these are the reasons right now. But see, things change. Tomorrow we may go to more. We'll see about what happens in future. And just to let you know, Bajaj, we are involved in all the platforms of scooters and 3-wheelers. TVS Motors, we are in touch with them for their scooters. Could you hear me? What I said?
I can, sir. I can.
So Bajaj Auto already we won the order. Chetak, we have started brake suspension castings for them. 3-wheelers will be starting when they start. We have won orders for both their vehicles. TVS Motors, we are in touch with the scooters. We will get the PO has come. Mahindra Electric for the tandem master cylinder for the 3-wheeler brake assembly already started supplying 800 per month. So we are engaging. See, we are not talking too much, but we are fully aligned to existing and new OEMs and companies funded by them. Because we feel they will succeed better. But we are not going to everybody. I'll be honest about it. But yes, Ola is there and we are engaged with them.
So is it Ola? Sorry, just a clarification. Ola, you are engaging, but is there some revenue potential or a product has been selected there, or you're still in the negotiations there? Because what we hear is that vendor base is finalized. So I just thought I'll ask you straight away.
So that's why what I said earlier. We were not focusing on the new OEMs last year. So we lost out in the first phase. We lost out in the first phase of vehicles. But in the new phase, we hope to get because we are a leader on these products, and we are a cost leader and technology leader. So I'm very confident, because we have changed our strategy now. And to be honest, last year I didn't know that. I'll be honest, I didn't know that, and they'll be funded by SoftBank in a big way. So we didn't know that. So things change. Things also change, and we were focusing on a lot of new business. We are getting from TVS 2,000 million rupees of business. So we are focusing on so many things. So we have kept this a bit at the side. But now with these big announcements, of course, we have to be a part of it. We'll do our best to get the order.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hitesh Goel from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question, sir. Congratulations on winning a lot of orders in this tough environment. So just wanted to get a sense, where I see your outlook. You are actually going to gain a lot of market share on the alloy wheels, disc brakes, and ABS, which will be the key growth over and above the industry growth that I can see, right? So can you give us some sense on what is the revenue potential from this, additional, apart from the normal growth that you see in the industry? Because why I'm saying that is, we need to understand how your growth will be higher than the two-wheeler industry, right? So these are substantial orders. So if you can give us some sense on these three buckets, basically.
The problem is, I've never given forward-looking figures because I've always said uncertainty is the new normal. I maintain that. I never give forward-looking figures. I've always said since the IPO, higher in industry growth. I've also told you profit growth. I've told you we have won 12,000 billion rupees of orders in the last 2 years. We have 15,000 million rupees of requests for quotes. You have seen a performance in the financial year 21, which was very tough year, one of the toughest years after 2008. So I cannot give you forward-looking figures, but I think this is a sense that you will have to get see how well we can do.
So, sir, when you are talking about 12,000 orders, so what does that mean? That is the annual order you can win, or it is over a period of the...
No, we have done it in the last 2 years, where the peak will be in FY 22-23, the peak. Because this includes orders even for Hyundai and Kia, and there are some projects of brakes which will start only end of this financial year. Because we have won brake orders from everybody, from Hero, HMSI, and...
So there's a peak annual revenue, additional annual revenue from Hyundai,
Yes.
Kia and other customers,
Yes.
1,200 crores, over and above the industry growth. That is how you should look at it.
No, I didn't say above the industry. These are the orders which we have won.
Okay.
So these are orders we have won. Now, I don't know which vehicles the OEMs will phase out, which new vehicles they will get, which new variants we will get. I am only making a statement that I have won these orders. And I have always performed higher than industry growth and profitably.
So basically it's a combination of the existing programs and the new program that you have won, basically, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because, I'm sure you would appreciate, see, future nobody knows how the OEMs will do. What will be the uncertainties? We have no idea. And we have seen how things have gone in the past, right from global financial crisis and demonetization and COVID now. So we are focusing on cost controls, on our margins, consolidating our plants, making our plants multi-products to lower fixed costs. We are doing a lot of strategic things. We are outsourcing to our vendors. We have our own endurance vendor association. We have done a lot of work last 11 years to reach this stage. It's not easy to make these kind of margins, when your price is lower than the competition. All my prices are lower than competition, mostly.
So, sir, just on my last question, on this, if you look at the standalone performance, the gross margins have deteriorated this quarter. There is a lead lag in terms of passing to the OEM, or this is the kind of gross margin we should see for the first half?
Okay, I would request Mr. Ray to answer this.
Yeah.
This question actually was answered by Mr. Jain a little while back, because I would like to answer it this way, that our RMC percentage quarter 3 was 63, which became 64.3 in quarter 4. You would remember that mega project incentive booking in quarter 4 was next to nothing. It was only 6,90,000, whereas in quarter 3 it was 23.4 crores. So if you knock that off, you will get an RMC percentage of 63% versus 64.3. This was primarily driven by increase in aluminium, which went up by 10.3% and 12.1% if I take a weighted average of the kind of steel that we use in our products. So this explains that 1.3%. But what Mr. Jain said a little while earlier is very important, that there were spot increases because steel, crazy things were happening. Steel producers were not willing to supply unless you gave them spot increases. Some of that cannot be passed on. So therefore, that explains the question. Gives you the answer to why the gross margin came down between quarter 3 and quarter 4.
Okay, great, Sachin. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pramod Amte from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. This is again a follow-up related to the raw material cost pressure. Considering the fact that both the aluminum and steel have a different behavior in terms of costing and the way you can pass on, what is the mix in your cost basket in terms of aluminum and steel, please?
Sorry, what is the?
Mix of your cost in terms of aluminum and steel based on your component. Is it like 70% aluminum versus 30% steel, or they are equal proportion?
Well, I don't have the answer for that right now.
I also don't have this answer because die casting products would by and large have aluminum.
Right.
So I can't give you a percentage or a number just now.
Because aluminum is used both in proprietary products as well as on like clutch castings have it, front fork castings have it, shock absorber castings have it. Brake castings require aluminum. So we don't have that breakup. I'm sure we have it, but I don't have it right now.
Sure. Maybe I will take it up separately. And second, again, related to the cost pressure, how do you see in terms of competition behavior in the sense that these are like unprecedented type of cost hikes we are seeing? And you, as you said, you have relatively better balance sheet and hence you opted for better production versus losing out on the margins. Do you see this helping out in the medium term for you to gain market share versus competition, and also in terms of winning new orders as and when they open up in a much better way?
Definitely in the last many years, we have seen price as being one of the most important factors. One is, of course, the technology. One has to have the technology and the price to first enter a new product. And then, of course, it's the quality. Quality has the highest vendor rating. You have to maintain your customer complaints based on aesthetic, fitment, and function, as well as the warranty should be going down on the field. Okay, but it's your price and it's your technology that gets you in. Today, I think on both technology, I've already mentioned we have our own test track. We're the first tier one to have a 29-meter test track in Waluj. Not in Waluj, in Aurangabad. And we are trying to give first-time right products. We have advanced engineering cell. We have no R&D for all our product areas. Because strength on technology and price is because, like I mentioned, we have done a lot of work on our endurance vendor association, on our outsourcing of our internal operations to them. We have done a lot of operational efficiency. We have consolidated plants. Many plants were shut down and transferred business to other plants like Pune. We made from 4 plants to 3 plants. Manesar we shut down. We did a VRS in our first die casting plant in Waluj. Plus we are going for multi-product plants. For example, now Pantnagar plant. All our 4 product areas are there. So even if sales go down, my fixed cost is well spread. I don't lose so much of money. You know what I'm saying? So there have been many strategies whereby you see that when the sales go up, we do so well. And this is a continuous focus, which we are doing. So going forward, as the sales increase, as the new business increases, we are definitely very confident. But of course, there's only one rider I must tell you, that if the RMC percentage of sales keeps going up, it does affect the EBITDA margin percentage. That's mathematics. I may not lose money except for the spot increases which are demanded, but definitely it will affect the EBITDA margin percentage if the RMC percentage to sales keeps going up, in future.
And so the other question is with regard to the EVs. Do you see, as you expanded your customer base now to even look at the newcomers, what are the type of parts you thought might be you will supply to EVs 1 year back or 2 years back? And has that scope expanded multifold? Would you be able to give us some color on it?
Yes, so definitely our suspension, brakes and casting are there already. Clutch will not be there. But to be honest, like I said in my opening remarks, we are looking at inorganic and organic growth. That's also for EV products, But I will not tell you the product. I've said it in the past in the meeting. When we are ready to go, we will tell you.
Okay, sure. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, thanks for the opportunity again. Sir, my question is European operations. So, are we seeing improvement in the European market volumes on a quarter-on-quarter basis so that for us revenue in this quarter will be higher than the March quarter?
Massimo?
Yes, could you repeat the question, please?
So my question is that are we seeing improvement in the volumes in European market on a quarter-on-quarter basis sequentially so that our revenue in Q1 would be higher than what we delivered in Q4?
For sure, because in the Q2 2020-2021, we closed with 56 million euro. In the Q3, 59 million euro. In the Q4, 62 million euro. And so we are growing. We are coming back to the normality. But for sure, if I compare this figure compared to 2018, 2019, we are more or less 15-20% less compared to the normality. But in this moment, we are working 5 days per week. We are working 18 shifts, even if, as I told you before, a lot of OEM had a problem of shortage in semiconductor. Even if there was for sure an impact also in the next month due to the COVID-19, we are coming back in the normality. And so my expectation for the next quarter is to continue to maintain the stability of the last 2-3 months.
And was April a better month versus March as far as the industry volumes are concerned?
No, more or less was the same. But as I told you before, for sure, now in this quarter, it will be very difficult to compare the figures compared to the previous year. For this reason, we are trying to compare these figures with 2019. And as I told you, also the month of April closed with minus 24.5% compared to 2019.
No, I'm not talking about versus last year. I'm talking about March 21 versus April 21. So was April better than March for industry volumes?
Is more or less the same considering the working days. But we are working at the same level of March and also February.
Okay. And sir, lastly on India operations, like we said that in brake assembly, we said last quarter that our market share will probably improve from 30% to around 55% in this year. So will that improvement will be on an average for full year, or did you see the higher impact in the Q4 or second half?
No, I couldn't understand the question. What is 30 to 55%?
So last quarter in the con call, we said that in the brake disc brake assembly, our market share is around 30% currently. And in FY22, we are looking at almost like 55% market share based on orders that we had, that we are expanding, almost doubling capacity.
Yeah, I mean, that was a calculation which was done based on number of vehicles sold. And that will be at the peak. That will be at the peak, once I reach the peak level.
Okay. So major impact of that basically will come through in the second half or fourth quarter of this year, FY22.
Yeah. So right now, say brakes is around 30% and the disc is at about 45%, disc only. And disc I'm going from 375,000 to 675,000 by August. And brakes, we are almost doubling. So there is no reason we should not do this figure. Though I don't like to give forward-looking figures, but you are right, if you have caught me there. But that is the plan, for sure.
So in FY22, okay. So in
FY22 peak, I can reach that figure of, yes.
I got it. So my other question is in FY22, for us as a company in India, will higher growth come from brakes or even suspension also will grow?
I think brakes, suspension, machine castings, these three will be the largest growth areas.
Okay. So even the key.
And when I talk about brakes, we also have, the ABS starting. We have, of course, all these brakes, disc brake assemblies and discs. Suspension, we have inverted front fork, shock absorbers. The business is anyway increasing with new customers like TVS, and we are going for fully finished castings, for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers. There will be a higher value add coming there also. And of course, we have a big growth plan for aftermarket. Big growth plan for aftermarket.
The order that we got from Kia and Hyundai.
Tiwari, may we request you to come back in the queue for a follow-up?
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. The next question. So we've got a few more questions in the queue. Shall we take them?
Yes, of course.
All right, sure.
I'd like to answer all the questions.
Sure. We take the next question from the line of Jay Kale from Elara. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. So my first question was on your European business. So you mentioned about your orders in EVs and hybrids. If you could just talk a little about the products that you supply to the EVs and hybrids. how complex or how different are they than the existing ICE products? And what would be the competitive intensity in those EV kind of products that you're supplying? Would they be the same players that are currently supplying the ICE products in the die casting business?
Okay, I will.
So the product.
Yes,
the product in terms of process and technology are the same of the past. We are speaking about basically transmission component and also some engine component. If we speak about hybrid technology, has engine cover, decal, and also some gears for the transmission. If we speak about the process, for sure there is a different alloy. In some cases, we are using primary alloy due to the fact that they have to respect some technical, and so the technology is going from the secondary alloy to the primary alloy as for the structural part. In some cases, we are speaking about components for the chassis as a brake system for the chassis. But if you speak about our position compared to the historical competitor, we are for sure in a better position compared to the market due to the fact that in this kind of investment, in this kind of business, you have to invest in big high pressure die casting machine, and as you know, this is one of the point of strength of Endurance Overseas, because a lot of the foundry, a lot of the machining company in the European market are focusing the small machine, and for this reason, in this moment, we are more appeal compared to our competitors.
Sure. Just a clarification, you mentioned about the hybrids, but would it be similar for the EVs? Because I guess in EVs it would be more of battery casing, housing, and maybe some other components. The engine components wouldn't be there. So the complexity.
Yes, I explain to you which is the difference. Because in this moment for the electrical vehicle, the transmission is completely electric. Okay, and so with the normal component of in high pressure die casting. For the hybrid technology, the process and the component are the same of the internal combustion engine, because for the hybrid solution in a car, they are assembling the electric engine and also the normal internal combustion engine. And so we are continuous to produce the same part also for the hybrid technology.
Sure. That's all from myself. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Gupta from UBS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. I just had a couple of questions. One, just following up on the EV side, I just wanted to understand, I mean, like for your existing products like suspension, brakes, etc. I mean, does the value, let's say, compared to, say, an Activa, does the value really change as you go to EV? I mean, will it, I mean, plus or minus? I just want to...
No, see, what happens in casting, there are different types of casting. So if you talk about aluminum casting, like you don't have cylinder heads or cylinder blocks or crankcases. You may have battery housing, case extensions. Then there are some plates. You have some modules. So some terminal, phase casting. So what is happening is that the size and shape is changing. But in terms of pricing and profitability, we don't see any change. And the existing die casting machines can be used with different tooling. So we don't see that in casting. As far as brakes and suspension, hello?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
And as far as brakes and suspension is concerned, the progress could be slightly different looking at the inputs we get from the customers, like suspension in terms of damping force values of compression and tension. So it could differ, but in terms of pricing, we don't see much of it. It could be plus minus, but that will depend upon the type of shock absorber, the type of front fork, or the type of brake which is required. But we don't see that much of a change in brake, suspension, and casting.
Okay, great. And sir, could you just share what is the percentage revenue that you have from like Bajaj for the year and Royal Enfield and some of your other large customers?
See, normally I don't give this breakup. I do not like to give it, though I have done it in the past, but I don't like to give this breakup, to be honest. But of course, Bajaj is the largest consumer. So if you see the top 5, look, you have Bajaj, you have HMSI, you have Volkswagen, you have RE, and you have the Fiat Chrysler, and now it is called Stellantis with their tie-up with Fusion.
You're right.
So these would be our top 5. And of course, we are growing a lot with Yamaha, RE, TVS, of course, being a new. So we are growing with everybody. But Bajaj is the highest, I'll tell you that.
Okay, sure. Great. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we take the last question from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead. Chirag Shah from Edelweiss.
Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. I had a question on the tire distribution side and more of a thought process. So how do you decide on the aftermarket and why only tire distribution? Your point is absolutely valid that it helps in overall growth, but you could have chosen some as a strategy to use as an aftermarket tool. And what more products or areas you would be looking to add in this aftermarket business as a distribution or a trading business?
Yeah, so already we are trading in some, other products also. We call them value-add products, which I think I think connecting rods are there. And we have a few other items which we found value-add where we can make money, where we are good suppliers. As far as the tires was concerned, it was a high-value business. We could make money. It was a very good growth potential for our aftermarket business. And that's why we chose it. And tires has got a very good replacement market, as you know. It's very strong in aftermarket. And because Endurance has a good brand image, it has been received quite well. And fortunately, we could get good suppliers to suppliers. And the quality controls are done by us also. You know what I'm saying? So we ensure that the quality is maintained in all the value-add products we do. So tire was a new addition we started last year. Like I said, about 25 million we did last year and 560 million this year. So some of the products which we are doing value add, just to let you know, are like wheel rims, control cables, camshafts, rocker arms, and connecting rods. So here we make money, you know what I'm saying? So aftermarket business is two-phase. One is our products, and second is the value add product. So tires comes as a part of the value add product trading. And it's got a high value. So even if the margin percentage is of a certain amount, the value of profit I make is high on a tire because it's a high value product.
And any more products you are evaluating for aftermarket, and aspirationally, what kind of revenue percentage you would like to have from aftermarket?
So like I said, we were last year at 6.5% of domestic sales. We would like to reach 10% of domestic sales, but it depends on domestic sales also. We are really growing. With God's grace, we are really growing. So to reach that 10% is not that easy, but that is our target.
And more products you are looking to add over there in the aftermarket?
See, right now I will not be able to tell you, but we are exploring the products. But I will not tell you which products. So the ones I am doing, I told you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a follow-up question on the disc brake. You indicated that at peak you could get around 55% market share. I presume that probably would be the highest market share for you in most of your products. 55%. So that would be the peak market share across products you would be having.
Yes. Because here the major competition is only Brembo, and with the help of Bremeka, we have entered a 200 cc plus brakes market. Which is giving us a much more higher value add, and a new market is opening up from this year for us. So this is an estimation. Now, please don't catch me on future investor calls on that 55%. It will be plus minus. But yes, when I'm going from 285 to 570, that answers. And today I'm at around 28 to 30% market share on brake systems. So from that angle, I gave this figure, looking at the overall volumes. Because India is a market which of FY19 dealing about 24.46 million two-wheelers in FY19. Of course, went down in FY20 to 20.9 and 18.4 last year. But I see no reason why it should not come to 24.4. Not that I have taken 24.4 in this financial year, but looking at the growth and looking at the opportunities from so many OEMs and de-risking of people like TVS from a Chinese supplier to us and new orders from Hero, HMSI. So, I don't see any reason why we should not be at that figure. So this was an estimated figure which I gave you in my last call.
Yeah, super. And so last thing, in suspensions, what would be your estimated market share according to you? If I have to do a like-to-like comparison with brake, where would be suspension in terms of market share?
It is about 40%.
It's about 40%. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Well, I don't have any closing comments, except to just tell you that, like I said earlier, April was quite good. We are caught up in this lockdown scenario, which is definitely affecting our sales. But like I said, we are optimistic from June the recovery should take place. Like last year, it happened from July mainly. So I'm an optimist. There would be pent-up demand. And definitely we'll control whatever cost we can on fixed variable material as well as on capex investments. So and luckily we have learned a lot from last year's experience. So just want to tell all the shareholders here, investors here, that we will continue to do our best for a profitable growth. But external factors are beyond our control. We can't do anything. And I would like to thank everybody for their support and their confidence in Endurance. So that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Axis Capital Limited, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.